You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, here we are again. Despite popular demand, we're back. Have Java John Long with us today. Everybody knows him. He's the coffee king of Johnson County and soon to be with the world. We're going to talk about his spot there at HEB, which I go to HEB more than I need to, really. I don't buy in bulk because I don't want to waste groceries and all that. So I'm there about 3 times a week, and every time I've been there, there's been at least 2 tables and full and other people being waited on. So it's got off to a good start, at least from my what I see of it.
Yeah.
Well, it gets good. Anyway, we're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about his work at the Harvest House because there's a lot going on there, and just say a shout out to our friend Jennifer Woods, who's in Alaska right now, and her father passed, and they had the funeral yesterday. So and we'll talk about whatever else has got on John's mind. Because he's no rookie to podcasts. You had your own for a while, did you not?
I did, yeah. So I was part of a podcast called Passing the Baton. It's actually still ongoing. So the guy that I was doing that with is still maintaining it. But it was a leadership podcast that we did for about 4 or 5 years together, and had a lot of fun with it. But when I moved out here and he stayed out east, it was kind of just differing things and just time to walk away. But yeah, I did podcast for a long time.
Well, maybe you can do it again. And hey, I know a place you can do it. but anyway, we're going to
Where?
Well, really, where? It's you never heard of it, Anyway, don't Taylor will tell you about it later. I'm sure he'll probably hit you up. But anyway, I gotta he shared us the video. I had to share with all the various podcast and Facebook platforms here. I got about a dozen. I have to remember. Facebook is so particular. What was your medium? What was your platform that you used?
So to like grow for podcasting, we used. We were everywhere, but we were on Libsyn. And so it's kind of where we went out of, and then from there we were on. I can't think of anywhere that you can put a podcast that we weren't, except for iHeartRadio. Like they would never take us.
Oh no!
But Spotify and iTunes and everywhere, anywhere. Yeah.
I got that as well. I've used Libsyn and I'm on a lot of podcast platforms I've never even heard of before.
Sure, same.
So it's just the way it is.
Yeah, we're on Stitcher and Google and 10 others.
Well, before we get to diving into the coffee business, let's talk about other types of business. The sponsors, CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. About 2 months ago, I had their new owners on, and they have big ideas.
That's awesome.
It's really nice. But they still have the old standards, the classes and the times and the membership plans and things like that. They get up really early and they stay really late, so they try to accommodate your schedule. We're at that gym. Also, thank you to Shandy Stogsdill of the Stogsdill Group. She is the person to talk to if you're going to move in and around this area. She knows the real estate. She knows the markets. She's a patient person, which I found out you have to be real estate because all the details just drive you nuts. But she'll take care of that for you. So call Shandy if you're looking to move. Also, our friend Otto at our place. I'm sure you've been there more than once.
Oh yeah.
He's in Chicago for his birthday, but he's doing pretty well. I talked to him about a couple of weeks ago. Business is good. It's a great place to go and have breakfast or lunch and whatnot. Almost as good as coffee as yours, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, do y'all serve food at your place as well?
We do serve some,
Okay.
Just some real easy hand foods.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. Our place, you know where it is, on Highway in Allsbury. Also, thank you to Chris. I was just there at Wild Cigar a couple of days ago, just a little sponsor care, whatever. Talked to the co-owner, Nathan, and everything's going fine. Are you a cigar smoker?
Yeah, so Wild carries my coffee, and
does it really?
Yeah. So they were actually the very first wholesale account that we had, and it was Wild Cigar here in Burleson.
Well, how about that?
So they carry our coffee, and I try to do it. I can't always make it, but once a month I try to do a networking event with them called Leaf and Bean, where we try to pair a cigar with coffee and just have a business networking kind of like brunch almost.
Well, I've known Chris for 25 years. He's a former student and all that. And he and Nathan are running a really good business there.
Yeah, they are. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm there at all different times of the day, and there's a lot of people there doing business. They got their laptops out, and it's a good place to do it.
That's right.
Also, thank you to Tiffany Nico and Local Life. It should be out this week. Do you advertise in this?
Not yet.
You got to consider it because it goes to 30,000 homes.
That's awesome.
And also a lot of businesses carry extra copies, like Otto has several.
Sure.
I was at the auto place, Christian Brothers, about a month ago, and they're sitting there on the coffee table. So Local Life magazine, check it out. LocalLifeTX.com if you want the website. Also, Southern Jim. All right. Yesterday, they were closed on Sundays, but we made a special trip for a young man who's being deployed. And it really is a nice store.
It is, Galia's a wonderful lady.
Galia's she's returning home now. Now they'll do what they can to help out, in situations like that. But they have a really, really nice store, and now let's have a little bullpen place to put the husband, so the wives can come in and spend the money, and you're there, and they have Dr. Pepper or have beer and whatnot. So it's really nice. Southern Jim over at the Standard. Also, thank you to Old Pro Roofing, John Williams, 817-734-2756. So check out your roof. He'll give you the straight answer. Yes, you need it. No, you don't. And which is a good thing because, we got that hailstorm a month ago. There are a lot of guys roaming the neighborhoods, for roofers. And I'm not begrudging people making a living, but you need to have somebody and local folks. They're located in Old Town. So there you go. John Williams will help you out at Old Pro. Also help you out with your insurance is Texas Farm Bureau Agent Melissa Harmon, 682-804-0534. She'll tell you that the rates are going to be rising in Texas. And I saw that yesterday in an article in the Wall Street Journal. But, she and about 4 others on this list I'm going through, we're all members of B&I, whom you may have heard of. We probably recruited you before, but she was telling us at the last meeting she was at that several states are going to be raising their rates significantly, and Texas may be one of them.
Sure.
Cost of materials, cost of shingles, labor, because of the weather and whatnot. And then what happens in Florida affects a lot of things happen here in Texas, cost of materials and whatnot. So there you are, 682-804-0534. Have her check out your insurance to make sure that you are. There's Alex Phillips. He says, good morning. Best coffee around with Java John's. All right. Roasting, impressive store, and happy to have you a part of our small business community. I had Alex on about 2 weeks ago, and he's got Alex. It going on. And he's got all the lowdown on what's going on, and a lot of stuff happening in Burleson business-wise. Sure. I think it's because they heard we have a fantastic economic development guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Service team with Stop Restoration. Their Stop Restoration is they'll help you out with if you have home damage, water damage, fire damage, biohazards, whatever else, mold in particular. They're certified mold specialist Morris and Lisa Smith will help you out. They're here. They're off 1187 in Chisholm, so they're local, and they're just really wonderful people. They've been on the show 2 or 3 times, and they have really good insights about what to look for and why you need to call them. Even if you don't think your house is you're fine, you may have water damage you don't even know of, and so there you go. As far as any of the charitable events, I know you got the Little Red Schoolhouse. We're going to talk about that towards the second half of the show because you're also, besides the Coffee King, you're also part of Harvest House.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we'll talk about that. But let's first of all talk about coffee. Now, I've known you off and on for about 4 years, right? Yeah. Roughly right before COVID.
Sure.
How did you get into the coffee business?
Yeah, so 12 years ago, I've always just really loved coffee, and really, really good coffee is simply it's just not cheap. And so I was just kind of bouncing around Fort Worth and trying different coffee roasteries like Avoca Coffee over off Magnolia and places like that. Yes. Yeah. And, I just got to the point where we were having our second child, and I was like, man, I cannot afford my coffee habits anymore. and so I was actually at Avoca, and the roaster there, his name was Gerald. They've been bought out now. He retired to Alaska. No one's heard from him since. But I saw him one day and I was like, man, I appreciate you guys. It's my last bag of coffee I'm buying from y'all. And I was like, I can't afford to do this anymore. He's like, dude, just roast it yourself. I was like, what? And he just kind of gave me just a brief 5-minute tutorial on how to do it with an air pop popcorn machine on my back porch. And so I ordered a bunch of green raw coffee, about 10 pounds of it, and started just playing with it on my back porch 12 years ago, and that slowly snowballed into what it is today of, people then were like, oh, where'd you get this? I'm like, I roasted it. And like, what? And then they'd buy it for their friend or their father-in-law or whatever for a gift. And it just kind of slowly built. And then when we moved back to Texas 3 years ago, from Phoenix, Arizona, I was doing outside sales and I was miserable.
What were you selling?
I was working for Hilti Tools. And so I was selling interior finish stuff, screw guns and screws and nails, that kind of stuff. And to commercial, drywall people. And it was a great job, great company, wonderful pay, wonderful benefits, just not my bag.
I got you.
And like I didn't want anybody to be like, oh, they're horrible to work for. Wonderful to work for. Great culture, beautiful company. But me and my wife sat down and, we're just kind of like, hey, like we've always wanted to have a coffee company. Like now's the time to try if we're gonna. If this doesn't work in a few years, then I always have time. I'm not quite old enough yet that I couldn't pop in back into a career and, set myself up for the future. And so 3 years ago, this past June 1st, I was my last day at Hilti, and I jumped into Java John's as deep as I could go into the deep end. And so it started and grew as a social media brand. So we did really, really well on TikTok. We have like 320,000 followers over there. And so by growing on social media helped us push to a national company. And then this year we decided to put all of our marketing in a DFW. And so
Jennifer says, hey, she's got a message for you.
Hey, Jennifer, I'm grateful for you too. Hope you're doing well.
We hope to see you again very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's the story in a nutshell of kind of where I started and where we've come from. And so,
Where do you roast them? At the store? Or?
No, so right now our roaster's over in Forney. And so a couple years ago, things were really, really slow. After year one, got real slow, and I went and took a job at Tractor Supply. And at that time, where I was getting my green from, still wherever the green comes from, was a Soci Coffee Company, SOCII, and they're a green importer and exporter based out of Forney, Texas. And we became partners at that time, business partners, and for the green and the roasted side of the business. And so they helped whenever I was having to go work to supply. They helped me continue the roasting process and bagging and shipping and those kinds of things for TikTok orders and Facebook and stuff like that. And then coming on with Harvest House last year, so I've been there like a year and 2 months. I was able to transition back to Harvest House and be back in the area more often to really focus on coffee, and that's helped the brand start to grow again. And I went part-time at Harvest House 2-3 months ago. And so I help them half the week and I do coffee the other half to make sure that we stay caught up on roasted and to make sure the coffee shop's running smooth and those kinds of things.
So this Forney company imports it from
all over. So I mean, we have Honduran and Guatemalan and Sumatran and Indonesia, and we have African coffees. And but they are the direct trade company that we partnered with, but now Java John's is actually part of that company as well.
Well, that's interesting because coffee, a lot of people think coffee is coffee, but that's far from the truth.
Oh, so far.
I mean, you could tell, people that know their coffee could tell where it's from and all this other stuff. What's your favorite particular source?
I mean, currently it's Honduras, and I'd never had Honduran coffee until I started partnering with Soci about 2 or 3 years ago. And it's kind of a hidden gem of a coffee country. It's slowly getting people's interest, but just the elevation that it grows at and where it's at in that region, it's real a nutty and a chocolatey coffee. Some little small hints of fruit sweetness. It's just a really, really pleasant cup of coffee.
The only not off brand, that's not the word I want to use, but say unusual brand that I get is I like Sumatran coffee.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's not very uncommon. It's a big coffee producer.
Yeah. So we do a lot of Sumatran coffees.
Right. And a lot of people get their fancy coffee from Colombia.
Right.
Where does Folgers and Maxwell House, all these others, where do they get theirs?
I'm not 100% sure. I know a lot of those are like Brazilian and Colombian mixes, kind of the biggest coffee regions, because they can go into those areas and, find the largest amounts, the cheapest amounts, and get it imported really, really quickly. So I believe it's primarily like Brazilian and Colombian mixes.
Well, you bet there's I've been to some of these fancy coffee stores, and all this. And it's like, wow, I never even considered coffee from this place or that place.
Sure.
It's all over particular. And as far as your particular outlet, do you sell some of these more, I don't want to say obscure, that's not the right word, but harder to find type brands? Do you sell that kind of coffee?
We do some, yeah. So, you can go on our website now and the we don't have it, but we do throughout the year. We'll have Ethiopians and Kenyans and Papua New Guinea and, things like that as they crop up on us. We get some unique offerings out of the Sumatran regions though too. So like, we'll get like a honey processed, Sumatran coffee, which is pretty rare. It's in that echelon of like, oh, this is an odd coffee.
Right.
We'll get a Sumatran natural. Most people do Sumatran washed. You're supposed to roast it really dark. Sumatran is often used as a filler coffee of, like, okay, I have this medium, but I really need to give it some more body. And so they'll put like 50% Sumatran into it because it's real darkly roasted to get those notes out of it. But like those naturals and those honeys, they're roasted a little lighter. And so they become more fruity. So like the honey Sumatran, whenever we have it, like when you open up the bag after it's roasted, like you smell strawberries. Like it's odd coffee. And so we sell some unique stuff like that throughout the year, but not always. It's not always on the website.
But so most of your retail bag of coffee is on the website.
Oh, yeah.
What is the website?
Yeah, it's www.javajohns.coffee. It's a coffee so good that it doesn't need a .com.
You're going to be on the screen here in a second.
Yeah.
So roasted designated. I'm reading this off here for great coffee content and stuff. And there you are.
So I'll take you to YouTube and all those other things.
Yeah. Yeah, so you could get on here and you can order, by the pound, I guess, or by the
it's like we have 12 ounces and then the 2 pound and 4 pound bags. Big thing we're like really excited about right now. So we started doing a French roast coffee, and so that's $9.99 a bag. And then we have the little 2 ounce portion packs that come in a box, and those are portioned out. The 2 ounce easy packs are portioned out to where you can just rip them, pour them in your coffee filter, and hit brew. And it's already measured out for you. So it's good at home. If like we just had a baby, my wife has fallen in love with those because she doesn't have to worry about how she's making coffee in the morning. But it's great for the office or your church or whatever as well.
Get the whiskey brand.
Yeah. So we have a touch of whiskey, and we're actually beginning the process of partnering with Lockwood Distilling over in Richardson to turn that into kind of a Lockwood whiskey.
Of course, will you be able to taste the whiskey?
Oh, yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Good.
So we did send it off. It doesn't have any like actual alcohol content left in it. But,
of course. You should probably, when you roast it, it takes all the fun out of it.
It does.
Anyway, and you have various types of roasting, Guatemalan, whatnot. I guess the different types of roasting, because my wife doesn't care for dark roast. She likes light roast.
Sure.
What's the difference? Besides the process, but what's the difference in taste?
Yeah, so typically, like a lighter roasted coffee is going to be a little bit more on the sweeter and fruity side.
It's what she likes it. Yeah.
So if somebody is roasting a coffee light, they're trying to bring those notes out, and the darker you get, the more nutty and like dark chocolate flavors you find. And so now, I don't typically like dark roasted coffees either, but I love ours. I think that a lot of roasters, like I've sat in, presentations with roasters and heard podcasts and watch YouTube videos where they talk about like the only way to roast coffee is light roasted coffee or medium roasted coffee. And 9 times out of 10, my response is because you don't know how to roast coffee dark. A really well done dark roasted coffee still won't have that bitter bite. It'll still be very rich and flavorful and shouldn't be super high acidity. But whenever you get a cheaper dark roasted coffee, it's a lesser quality bean, a lesser quality like roasting process. You end up kind of everything tastes the same. And so it just,
she thinks it's too acidic.
I get it. Yeah. I do. I really do.
A little too bitter.
Yep, absolutely.
And
I get that.
So when we go to coffee and get coffee, we get the cheap stuff. It's going to be light roast, but I just find it fascinating that it's almost like wine or whiskey, whatever. There's so many different variations, and there's
very much so.
Experts on it. I had Chris here talking about cigars.
Yeah, similar to that.
Similar. All these various variations of the product. It really is fairly common. Because everybody drink. Well, not everybody, but most people drink coffee.
Yeah,
and so it just amazes me that you can have all these subtle differences and all these variations of coffee, even within a country.
Absolutely.
How much coffee do we grow? Not much, do we?
No, I mean, Hawaii.
Why? Yeah, that's
Hawaii
what I
grows,
think of.
And then they've started projects in California where they're trying, but it's not tropical enough.
Yeah.
And but I mean, and they're doing a good job because the people that are doing it have tons of money.
Yeah.
So they're creating the environment that they need to at greenhouses and stuff like that. But whenever they do figure that out, it's going to be just like Hawaiian coffee, where it's going to be so expensive.
Oh yeah.
That no one's going to be able to drink it.
Well, what is the highest end coffees?
Well, I mean, highest end, like price wise, are going to be like the Kona coffees out of Hawaii. wholesale, like green raw is like $38 to $40 a pound.
That's a bunch.
Yeah, it's a lot. So that's why, like, if you ever go to the store and it says Kona coffee and you're getting it for $9 a pound, it's like 3% Kona coffee, and the rest of it's some other filler. And
Just enough to give it that Kona taste.
Well, like I forget what the FDA standard is, but I think it's only like 3 to 6% that something has to be in the bag for you to call it that.
Yeah.
You can't call it 100%, but you can say Kona blend, and so you're really not getting Kona. I've had straight Kona. It's delicious. It's very smooth. It's very mild. It's not acidic. It's pretty fruity. But it's like $90 a pound, and on the retail side. Same thing with kind of with the Jamaican Blue. It's very similar. It's like $35 to $40 a pound. On my end to get it and roast it, and then by the time you've roasted it and bagged it and paid people to help you, it's $80 to $90 a pound. And so yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. The most expensive is that Cape Luwak coffee, and it's like $195 a pound. It's like,
where is that from?
You don't want to know. So it's
is this that one they go through a cat?
Yes.
Okay. For those who don't know what I'm talking about it, I've understood that this was. I thought that was a joke.
No, it's not.
But basically that you feed it to a cat and it poops it out, and then you get the beans from it.
So it's the animal is called, I believe it's a civet, like CIVET, and it looks like almost like a lemur, and they feed it the coffee berries. It processes it. It comes out like corn in its stool. They wash it off. They get it nice and clean. They roast it and you drink it. And I've had it. It wasn't like. So typically when people are like, that's the best coffee that I've ever had, it's not Coffee Roasters, because we're drinking fresh coffee all the time. And so, but if you're drinking other brands, like other cheaper brands, I don't like to throw them out there. But if you're drinking like the really high, like processed stuff that you're getting on like the grocery store shelves typically, and then you try that, you're like, whoa, this coffee's amazing. But yeah, it was just okay to me.
Here's the thing: it's like wine to me about coffee, because after a certain point, are you just buying the label? Okay, because it's like I've had most of the wine I have had in my life has been pretty much consumer wine you get at the store. I'm not a high end spender or drinker, but I've had like out of a $100 bottle.
Yeah.
And it's good. But would I pay $100 for it? No, I just assume pay $8 what I'm getting at HEB or whatever. Same thing with whiskey or tequila or whatever else. After a certain point, are you just being pretentious? I guess
sometimes. So I would say the difference is like freshness and quality. So like in coffee, like most of my coffees are like in that like $15 to $18 a bag range. We have the $9.99 French roast, but it's because we're ensuring freshness. And so like whenever you're getting coffee from us, like it's typically roasted within the last couple of days. And if it's not, so like even at the coffee shop, like we had some coffee that had been up there for 10 days that we hadn't quite run through an espresso machine yet, so we gave it to another partner that does flavored coffees, like Southern pecans and white chocolates and that kind of stuff, because it's now beneath our standard of what we'll sell or serve, and so sometimes you're buying a big name brand and like, okay, like you're buying a brand like mine or someone else, and you're spending more money on it because it's fresh.
Right.
But if you're buying it from the grocery store, most of that's typically not fresh anymore unless it's local, so like we're really close to being on HEB shelves. But part of being on HEB shelves is we have to stock it ourselves. And so it'll still have that same freshness guarantee of, hey, we stocked it today because it was roasted on Tuesday.
You're talking about on the shelf where you buy the rest of the coffee, not at your spot.
Yeah, aisle 9. Yeah.
Aisle 9,
Yeah.
Okay, well, you ever thought about putting them in Keurig cups or something like that?
We're in the process. So we used to have a K-Cup machine, and it was a nightmare.
Well, I've gone to just going back to the old-fashioned coffee pot because the expense.
Yeah,
absolutely. You go to like Sam's, buy 100 Keurig K-Cups, it's like $42, or you buy a big old jug of folders or whatever, and it's about 15. And, and I don't know. We're old school enough to still, I'm sure you got a pretty elaborate setup at your house, don't you?
Yeah, way too elaborate.
Yeah. But as far as, we've gone back to ground coffee.
For myself, 90% of the time, I have a really nice coffee pot. It's a Mocha Master. They're not cheap, but like this morning, I drank out of the Mocha Master. Now I did grind it myself and put it in there. But yeah, I use a coffee pot pretty much every day, unless I have a day where I'm slowed down and not crazy busy. Then I break out like the pour overs or the espresso machine or something like that.
Well, we just at our stage, we just let this just go back to the old fashioned way because the K cups are, they're also, they say, as an environmental issue, and that wasn't our motivation, but I just it also. I think the coffee's better because it is brewed that day, and it's not, who knows how long it's been on the shelf in the K-Cup and all this other business. But, there's been a lot of coffee shops open up in Burleson. There's one near HEB, in fact. And then there's another one over by Chris at the Harvest, Harvest House, what I'm saying, over at the Wild Cigar.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And there's a third one, Dutch Brothers. That's who I'm thinking of. And from what I understand, we may have a fourth one coming.
Scooters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that concern you at all, or is that like good for you?
I'm happy for them. First of all, anybody that can live their dream.
Yeah, right.
Like, salute to them. It really doesn't concern me. I think what we do is very different. So like what they do is mass produced dessert drinks. So like I saw a review recently online where somebody independently went and tried some of the new coffee places, and we ranked in the middle. And they were like, we like coffee 151 better. But as they began explaining it, I understood like they were after a sweet dessert drink.
Yeah.
Our experience is more about the quality of the coffee. So we do offer sweet dessert drinks, but they also come with a couple shots of our espresso in it so you taste the coffee. And so but nobody else in our town, nobody else within so many miles of us. I'm not sure exactly how many it is because like downtown Fort Worth's not that far. We're the only ones that roast fresh. And so if you're wanting the best tasting coffee, like genuinely coffee, we're going to beat everybody else locally, like hands down. And so, but it's because our stuff is roasted within the last 7 days.
It seems like Burleson in particular, they'll get a whole run of these type of businesses at the same time, like car washes we've all been joking about.
Right.
And I was talking to Alex about a month ago, or no, it was early this month, about 3 weeks ago, when we were getting several hamburger places.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I'm thinking, wow, are they going to all be competitive? And he's like, that's not my problem. So, and here, Jennifer also has to say, I love that your sweet drinks taste like coffee.
Yeah.
I genuinely agree, not because you're my friend. It's so good.
Yeah.
A lot of O's. And so, that's that's what I want from coffee. I don't want to have frappuccinos and all this. It's fine, and I'm not knocking it, but I don't go to a coffee place for that. What I like in a coffee place is the coffee. Do you put anything in when you drink a cup of coffee? Is it straight up black or do you? Okay,
it's black.
Okay, see, I like to put a little creamer in it, but I like to have a nice experience.
Sure.
Okay, it's. Now, I know a grocery store, you may say, well, what kind of experience is that? First of all, it's a nice spot.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not, I don't know, I've just been in it, and you don't feel like you're in a grocery store.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're in a lot of high traffic and, all this chaos going on.
Sure.
It's a quieter place. But I like to sit and have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And, of course, the big gorilla on the block is Starbucks, and they that's what they advertise themselves as when they started 20 years ago, whatever. Back when I was in school and whatever else, you're drinking coffee, it was at IHOP or something like that.
Sure.
And then it became, Starbucks kind of made it a thing, so to speak. What do you think of Starbucks, by the way?
So my answer to start that question is always, I'm so thankful because if there's not a Starbucks, there's not a Java John's. So, 45 years ago, Starbucks started the trend of specialty coffee. And so they literally paved the way for the Java Johns in the world to do what I want to do. So, because if it wasn't for Starbucks, people would not care. They'd be like, well, coffee can't be better. Just get the cheap stuff on the shelf. It's not a big deal. And so it's not my personal cup of coffee that I enjoy, but I'm super thankful for them.
Well, what it also did is it did just sell the coffee, it sold the experience.
That's right.
You go into a Starbucks or now many other similar type stores, and they got the music and they got the and the finger foods, if you will, some grub, and they got the nice cushy chairs and all that. You ever see yourself expanding into other stores similar to that?
Absolutely. So our goal is 5 shops in 3 years. And so HEB for us was not really in the plan. It was just it was a shop of convenience. And so I walked by there one day and I took a picture. I was like, hey, this is open. And I sent it to my partner group. And I was like, hey, I just saw this. I thought it was kind of cool. I know they have tons of traffic that comes to this store. And so it seems like your traffic could be pretty built in. And, so we just kind of ran the numbers on it, and based upon the Specialty Coffee Association, standards for coffee shops, we're like, even if we grabbed 1% of business. Like we would be very successful.
You betcha.
And so we all just kind of thought about it and ran the numbers on it and said, you know what, let's give them a call and see what happens. And now here we are.
Well,
So,
and when I go to like a HEB, like I said, I go all the time. There's a couple tables usually.
Yeah.
I got customers. You got somebody at the counter.
Yeah.
I go through the store, see some cups in the carts. You know. So, I know that people are going by. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could tell me about how good the business is, but as far as my eyeballing it, it seems like it's been a pretty big hit so far.
No, yeah, it's done really well. So I mean, like we ebb and flow, obviously with HEB. So like HEB, so if you're looking for a good shopping day, it seems like Tuesday and Wednesdays are wonderful.
That's when I do it.
And so like Tuesdays and Wednesdays are by far our slowest days. So it's good though because we're able to get like some deep cleaning done and some administrative work done on those days. But I mean, really Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it just kind of steadily ramps up to Sunday, falls off a little bit for Monday, but people still come to do we just ate our pantry out from the weekend. And then you have a couple days there that like Tuesdays, Wednesdays that are pretty low.
That's when I go.
Yeah.
To me, also Saturday morning, you'd think would be jam packed. Really, it's not as nearly as much as you think. It's Saturday afternoon, evening.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoons. If you can get there on a Saturday before 11,
Right.
You're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
And like even on our end, like we could probably have one barista there until 10:30 on Saturdays, no problem.
What time do y'all open?
We open at 7. We do 7 to 7, 7 days a week.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's gone well.
Okay. And so, you have at the store though. If I go by there today, there will be bags of beans.
So they're there for promotion. We're not allowed to sell out of the store.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so we can't sell anything in the store that directly competes with the shelves of HEB.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And so, but that's why there's the big push for us to get on their shelf.
I see.
And so, if anybody's listening to this podcast or at any time, go to HEB.com and hit suggest product and ask them for Java John's to be on online.
When people order it online, is it ground already or is it
Either way, you select it.
Okay. Is it changing cost?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and so let's say I get on there today, which I would tell my wife about this because she likes decent coffee.
Sure.
And I said, how does this happen? Do I order it and then you ship it through what, UPS?
UPS, yeah. And if you spend $30 or more, it's free shipping. And then if you live in the Metroplex, most of the time you get it the next day. Depends what time you ordered it.
Yeah.
Or like tomorrow we roast every Tuesday. So like if we don't have any coffee left from like our last roasting schedule, then it'll roast tomorrow and ship tomorrow afternoon. But yeah, shipping through the Metroplex is super fast, 1 to 2 days. You spend $30 or more, it's free shipping on no matter what you got. But yeah, if it comes through UPS or USPS, you can select how you want it to come, typically in the menu.
That's interesting because they were just avoided a strike. That would have been a real problem for you.
Yeah, it would have been a bummer.
Yeah, because I think they signed a contract or whatever the union did Friday or something.
Yeah, like the 30th. And like they told them, like, if you don't get it to us by the 31st, we're done.
Yeah.
And then it was like next day. I was like, oh, we got you.
Yeah, pretty much. But that would cause more than just you a lot of problems. But still, as far as though they get on there, they ship it, they get it, and you got all these different varieties. It sounds like a pretty good deal. When you talk about expanding other places in Burleson, is it a company secret where you're looking at in town?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, it is.
You're just like Alex. I'm trying to get information out of you guys.
So, we've had a couple different people reach out and let us know of certain like areas and opportunities, but what we do with that though, honestly, is we just run the addresses through like the database and see like what the traffic is that goes by there. And then we pay real close attention to what's being built around it.
Well, I'm just suggesting this without your prompting at all, but where they used to have the Methodist church where they now have leveled it.
Oh yeah.
They're going to have a development there and it's probably going to be mixed use of office and ground level retail.
Oh, that's awesome.
That'd be a great location for y'all.
Something like that could be really cool, actually.
Particularly with that new apartment complex coming online. A lot of people come walking over, get a cup of coffee and all this other stuff. Now, I'm not trying to put Dwell out of business, but I'm just saying.
Me either.
Yeah, I know. No, there's plenty of coffee for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that would be a great location if and when that becomes available.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And as far as other locations, well, y'all probably know more about that. I know that this town is moving westward, and more the populations in Western. I wish they'd move a little eastward in some ways, because I live east of the highway.
I gotcha.
And there's just, my nearest cup of coffee is a gas station.
Right.
And so,
yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
We've looked as far as like Joshua Cleburne, like our roasteries in Forney, so it makes sense for us to have one there. That's a possibility. We've looked at stuff in like West Dallas. So like we're the
West Dallas, really? Oh yeah, all that development going on.
Yeah, so our goal over the next few years is to have the 5 coffee shops all throughout DFW. So we would like to have another one in Burleson that's a standalone that you don't have to go to the grocery store to get to.
Yeah.
And then from there, kind of branch out to other like building neighborhoods and those kinds of things. But like we're the official coffee of 97.1 The Freak out of Dallas.
Oh, with Mike Reiner and crew, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love Reiner and those guys, and so we're the official coffee of that radio station. And so most of their business, like most of their listeners, are right there in Dallas. And like they have a huge push in like the Richardson area. So we've kind of looked up towards that way, and that like western, like northwest Dallas area.
I grew up as a kid. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
In the Richardson Plano area.
Yes. And so but with Reiner and Ben and Skin and Danny and Mike in the morning and KT and those guys, it's been a really cool relationship. But part of us wants to get over that way, because we know that it would be beneficial for those neighbors to be like, oh, well, they're here. I'm going to drive down to Burleson and get it. And so, it'd be pretty big.
Well, I go see my friends over in Plano every now and then. It's a lot different town than I grew up in.
Yeah, for
completely different. But they got areas that are very, very active because I would imagine the majority of your coffee drinkers aren't like elderly people like myself, but they're probably, 20 to 30 somethings is a good, big portion of your market, right?
Yeah, like 25 to 45, kind of in there.
Yeah, that's the market you're trying to hit.
Yeah, the demographic of people that don't mind spending a little bit of money on coffee. But I mean, that's also one of the reasons, like, we are looking at going down market a little bit, having like a good, better, best strategy. So we do want a whole line of like $9.99 coffees, things that's like, hey, like we know we're a couple dollars more, it's better, but we can compete with the Folgers and the Maxwell houses, and then have that $15 to $17 coffee that competes with the Stump Towns and the Countercultures and those kinds of people that are on your shelf, and then have the $25 coffees, that it's like, hey, this is really, really special. It's a limited time run. Like we take very good care of this. And if you're a coffee connoisseur, get after it, and have a few of those offerings, and then a lot of the rest. And so that's kind of where we're headed, because we do want to pick up more of that, the older demographic that, just wants a good cup of coffee, but also doesn't mind spending a couple dollars more if it means they're supporting local.
Well, it does. And I'm thinking like my father, and if I took him I haven't taken him to Starbucks ever, because if we get coffee together, it's over at Roy's Coffee Shop in Corsicana or something like that. And the idea of him paying more than $1.50 for a cup of coffee probably blow his circuit. So, but but people will pay for those kind of things.
They will.
I mean, it seems like times are tough, and everybody thinks, well, that coffee would be a splurge. It's not. Really, people will pay a couple extra dollars for the experience of a decent cup of coffee in a good environment. That's not just. I mean, we could make coffee at home,
right?
But it's like we could drink at home, or we could buy wine, drink wine at home, or we could smoke cigars at home. But we do it in places because we want the experience.
Yeah.
And so if you can come up with that, and I bet you can, and knowing you personally and knowing what you're involved in, I'm sure it'll be a very welcoming type place. It's not going to be. You go into Starbucks sometimes, and then you get hit with some of this. Woke business, but I don't think that'll happen in Java John's coffee shop.
No, I don't think so.
I'd like to shift gears a little bit, because not just coffee, but you're also involved in the Harvest House.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we know that's near and dear to your heart, near and dear to Jennifer's heart. So how long you been with them?
A little over a year.
Yeah. What do you do for them?
So last May, so like my ending job with Lifeway Christian Stores was I was a district director.
I remember those stores. My wife and I been there before.
So I was over all of their stores from Denver to the ocean, and I did with them. I did a lot of remodels and relocations and those kinds of things. And then I worked for Tractor Supply for a year, and all I did with them was a project manager for remodels and relocations and new stores. And so I've known Jennifer for a long time, and when they began the process of taking their tiny little retail store and going to a 10,000 5,000 square foot building, 5,000 square foot up front, 5,000 square foot in the back. She called me and was just like, hey, we really need help with this. Is this something you would do? And I was like, nope. And then I couldn't get it off my mind, and I was praying about it, and I just really felt like convicted about calling her back. And so I called her and I was like, okay, I don't know what you need, but let's talk through this, and I'll at least interview for it. And so I went through that process, and then it just became very evident that it was something I was supposed to do. And so, we opened the store like the July 25th of last year, the big one there on the corner of Wilshire and Renfro. So I became the retail store manager for them, the general manager, and helped them go through the process of moving it over there and setting it up and setting prices and picking out the POS system and all those kinds of things. And so we've been doing that now for a year. It's been going real well.
Point of sale.
Yeah, point of sale.
Just making sure.
They're like, they did what?
Yeah, that's right. You're going to call my donation a POS?
That's right.
No, point of sale,
no.
vast listening audience.
That's right. That's exactly right. So we did all that fun stuff, and for a year we've been trying to work out all the kinks of going from a very tiny location that's kind of hidden there to a very large location that it's very obvious would take donations and just get over inundated, which is a beautiful thing.
Well, I've been there about 4 times since y'all have opened to drop off things, some furniture and other items like that. And I walked in there, I think, it was about a month ago. I was dropping off some big pieces of furniture. My daughter sold her house. And there's like this mountain of bags of clothes. And I said, gosh, it'll take you forever.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, about a week. I mean, we'll sell most of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you got a lot of foot traffic going on.
Yeah, we really do. The store's done really, really well. The community's been really receptive. And I think a lot of people, not all, obviously, but a lot of people in the community know what it goes to. So like no one is making a ton of money at the Harvest House.
I would imagine not.
And so the vast majority of it, once it comes in, and it's been a beautiful thing because going to a larger store, we've been able to hire many more people, and that's helps the mission of Harvest House, and feeding and clothing and restoring people in our community. Because now we got a bunch of people that have jobs that didn't have jobs. But the vast majority of what we make, goes back into our food pantry and keeping it full, and goes back into our client aid and helping people keep their light bills on and their water bills on, and keep their mortgage paid and those kinds of things, so that we can help prevent homelessness in Burleson.
Yeah, as Jennifer's mentioned, that every now and then you get some crank that is saying, "Why aren't you just giving this away?" or whatever. And it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I just wonder what motivates them to say such stupid things. But the thing is, it's y'all, like you said, no one's getting rich at the Harvest House, and all that money it's a nonprofit and it's going to go to what you described. And I've been in that warehouse area, like I said, about 4 times, and the fact that you're hiring people in some cases that would have a hard time finding a job otherwise, that are qualified to work in every way, but they may have had some problems in their past. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And my wife, she loves that place because I remember one time she comes back and she had this jar. And I thought, well, you got a glass jar. It's a Waterford, and it's a big deal. And so you can get some decent stuff there.
Yeah, you can.
It's not like, but it's not a junk store.
No,
I mean,
it's not.
I've gone through it, and if I were a young couple starting out or a college guy getting his first apartment, that's where I go get the furniture, because you can get some decent stuff there and it's affordable. Yeah,
and look, you may have to wait, but it's okay to learn to wait. So you may have to come back, and I would say come back often. The stuff turns there daily and weekly. So like I had people recently. I was like, hey man, I'm really looking for a nice couch. You don't have anything? I was like, come back tomorrow. And he came back the next day. He's like, I'm looking. I was like, dude, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I'm telling you, if you just come pop in, like when you're driving by, just pop in, looking around, and leave if you want to. You will eventually come in and find a nice couch, man. And we do. So like we always have cool stuff come in. We have, I can't tell you the amount of like Coach and Prada and Gucci and bags and belts and shoes that we've sold out of that place. And we have a couple people there that know that stuff really well, and they check it for authenticity, and we'll put it on the back behind the counter, and we're able to sell it for a little bit more, and but nothing egregious. And but it's pretty wonderful. Clothes range anywhere between like $3 and $10. Depending upon what it is, but you can go down there and get like a new pair of jeans for like $6 or $7.
Yeah.
And go do that anywhere else.
Or shirts like I like to wear.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. For just a couple, just for a few bucks.
And when I was still teaching high school, a lot of the kids would buy clothes at the Goodwill.
Yeah.
And because they said, it's $5. And,
yeah.
And it became kind of a hip trend wearing thrift clothes and such. And, these kids would go to that MacArthur store or
Yeah.
whatever. Now that you got y'all involved, I'm sure a lot of the kids are still doing that. And I thought it's interesting, but I know that the last time I talked to Jennifer, y'all were talking about a need for a truck. How is that coming along?
Yeah, so I mean, I know it's still a big need, and so I know we've been working on getting donations and getting some matching donations and trying to write grants for it. And so, because a big part of what we do, I mean, the biggest part of what we do really is our food pantry, and so we have a box truck that we go pick all that stuff up with, and it's been down, so we've been having to rent a truck to go take care of that. And anytime we have to have any unexpected expense, just like any other business, it takes away from what our original mission is. And so I mean, I know right now, it's the summer months are always hard in most businesses, but especially in Harvest House. For some people are vacationing and they're doing fun things, and so giving goes down. But I mean, I would just say if anybody has the ability to give to Harvest House, now is we really need it. So yeah, and it's not just food, not just clothes, but monetary donations.
Right. Okay. That's good.
And it's something that you can write off. And if you're a business and you give a certain amount, just reach out to us. We'll let you know what it is. But I think it starts with like $1,000. We put you on our website as like a cheerful giver. Those increase by just like, we have some like title sponsors like HEB that, gave a large amount of money, and, several other people that have given large amounts of money throughout the year, and we make sure that they get featured, and we feature them on the social medias of Harvest House, just so people know that, like, hey, this is why we get to do what we do.
Well, people listen to shows semi-regularly know I do a lot of nonprofit shows, and you're all saying the same thing, is that the need is higher than ever, and the donations are lower than they should be, or at least they're what they have been in the past. I'll put it that way. Jennifer is saying that y'all are seeing a whole lot more homeless people. Debbie Beeman at Promises is telling us the same thing. I was talking with Lisa Schwartz last week. I've talked to Megan and Summer over at Next Step, and they just said, the need is much, much greater, and all this routine you hear about in the media about the economy getting better, whatever else, we still got a lot of people being left behind.
Oh yeah, a whole lot. I mean, I know just like from a giving food standpoint, we've gone from like 350 families a month to like 700 families a month, or 1,000 families a month that we're having to provide food for. So I mean, it's like massive growth,
and with the inflation,
absolutely.
And the grocery stores are also hurting, and so they're having to restrain how much they can be generous with, and that kind of stuff. Jennifer was telling me about a couple of longtime partners are really struggling. That's why I'm so appreciative of Kurt Yeager over at City Market, because he's still bringing it to the community as best he can.
He is.
Jennifer again says, we had a longtime Burleson resident that heard about the truck need on Mr. Allard's neighborhood. So thank you. You're very welcome, Jennifer. I think I know who that is too, because I had somebody ask me about. Well, I had somebody that she was asking me how she could donate and whatever else. So she private messaged me and so whatnot. I think I don't talk. Anyway, he had 104 Family Day. Don't say.
Anyway. He's saying don't say.
Oh no! I'm not going to say the names. No, but the person I'm talking about asked to be anonymous. So,
for sure.
But anyway, I'm just saying it was. We're getting more and more of these stories about how the needs are growing, and as far as financial donations, don't worry about that. That's just my diabetes monitor. I don't know why I'm going up so high today. I did drink a lot of coffee, but anyway. Anyway. What am I saying? I got distracted because of this silly thing. I really hate this thing. It's, if I drink too much coffee, it does trigger my numbers. I had a little bit of this morning, but it's no big deal. Anyway, they, as far as other donations in kind and whatever else, what would y'all need? What do you always seem to be in need of?
Well, I mean, we typically have a list, kind of a running list of food on the website, yourharvesthouse.org, that people can see. Really, the best thing people can do, I think a lot of times people hear and they're like, well, I can only give $5 or I can only give $20. Give it. It's okay. Like, go to the website, click on give, and give it, because it all goes to the same things. And so, I mean, we can always use food, but right now, I know the big push is like our monetary giving at this point is always rough during the summer.
Right.
And so, if people could give food, that would be wonderful. Like we're finishing up the Little Red Schoolhouse. The Little Red Schoolhouse is for school supplies.
Taylor, do you have that postable? Yeah. There it is.
And
Thank you.
But the Little Red Schoolhouse is we do it on August 12th, but we actually had the big weekend for that this weekend, where we had at the Walmart in Burleson, you had the police department, the fire department show up and help collect donations and do those kinds of things. And so if you want to give school supplies, you still can, but then our next big thing will be, like you see on there, we have the Harvest House Fall Food Drive, so you can always give food. We have the summer food program going on currently right now, where we make sure that during the summer that no kid goes hungry, and so that as they come, they can make sure to get food for their kids because they're not getting it supplied for their free school lunch for those in need. But yeah, I mean, I know our biggest thing right now, and I've said it, this will be the third time, is just monetary donations.
Yeah, right. Well, there's a lot going on. Particularly, I know how it works is that in the fall and then going into the Christmas time, things pick up.
Yeah.
For a lot of things, maybe it'll be a good place to go Christmas shopping.
Yeah,
and that kind of thing. But it needs. I am concerned.
Yeah.
Because I get to see this from a more global picture, and because I see all your groups, and I am concerned that we got people in our community that we just don't seem to see. Because I've been in Burleson since 1988, and if we had this kind of problem, it was completely hidden. Now it's not hidden anymore.
Yeah, not nearly as much.
And so it's a concern that we have these many families that are struggling, even in the so-called good economic times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you look at Burleson and how we've grown up. Like I said, I've been here a long, long time, and it's grown from this little country town to what it is now. And people think that's where everybody's life is going, and it's just not the truth at all.
And I would say one of the shifts that we've seen since the whole COVID years and the economy kind of tanking, is, like previously you would see people that were genuinely in need, like always like coming and getting help, which is wonderful, but like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I see like people that come up and show up and they do it, and they have great jobs, but the economy has grown to a point where even with their great jobs, like they're struggling to feed their families.
Yeah.
And, and so it's like by paying for their house and their insurance and their car payments and everything that they have going on, they're like, hey, I just need a box of food to get me through, so I think people that we wouldn't have seen 5 or 10 years ago are coming through because, I mean, like all of us, like raises just haven't grown with inflation, and they never will.
Well, it's not just the food; it's also the rent problem.
Yeah, it's everything.
That's what is what Jennifer and others have said is the rent is really becoming just such a burden to maintain because it's going higher and higher. It seems like every year or even every month.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a real problem. And
it is.
And then I have some friends that work over at that physician center over on Haskew, and Christian Physician Center.
Yeah.
And they tell me that they could be open 24/7 and still have a waiting list. And these are working people.
Yeah.
All right. These aren't the Medicaid recipients.
Sure.
At least have some level of support. These are people that don't have any level of support.
Yeah.
And they're working. What used to be, a job sufficient at least to be able to pay the bills, and it just isn't happening anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's a concern. And how to solve that? Well, that's for another show.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
keep the politics out of this one, but still, it bothers me. I wish we could do better as a society. Not y'all. Y'all are godsends to this community.
Sure.
I've been promoting this already. September 21st is the Giving Day.
Yeah, National Giving Day, yeah.
Jennifer will be here and say, well, if her peers will be here, going to diabetes thing, leave me alone. All right? It's not like I had like a big donut before anyway. If you're not diabetic or anything.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Try not to get there.
Well, it comes for all of us, it seems.
Yeah, well,
like.
I know my doctor on my last time told me I was approaching, so I lost 40 pounds in the last 3 months, and so I'm going to see if I can keep that train rolling.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Well, here's an odd question, though. When they decaffeinate coffee, what do they do with the caffeine? They put it
They
somewhere?
sell it to Coke.
Really? I mean, it's a physical product?
Yeah, they sell it to Coke and Pepsi.
Okay, so that's what I always wondered. Is caffeine an actual physical thing that you take out of the coffee bean and you put it in a bag or whatever and you send it to, okay.
Yeah, so they put it in a big chemical. All coffee's decaffeinated in the same place in Germany. It's all shipped from all around the world to one
There's only one decaffeinator?
Yeah.
In this whole world?
Yeah, and it's in Germany. It's weird, isn't it? And it's in Germany. And they sell all of their leftover caffeine to Coke, Pepsi, Monster Energy, those kinds of places. People that are just like, they don't want the taste. All they need is the boost. And
I was just joking about that. I mean, I can't. I'm trying to envision what does caffeine physically look like.
Yeah, I have no.
Is it like a fluid or what?
Yeah, it's a fluid. So like they put it in a big chemical bath, and then they drain it, and then they rinse the coffee beans off, and then that leftover drainage, which I'm sure they do something to it after that before they give it to Coke, but that leftover drainage is then sold off to Coke, Pepsi, those kinds of people.
Wow. Leave it to the Germans, huh? Well, anyway, we're at the end of the show here. So tell us what you want to know about what you want my vast listening audience to hear about your coffee place, and maybe any plugs or Harvest House.
Absolutely. So if you the best place to find us is there's two locations, www.javajohns.coffee, a coffee so good it doesn't need it.com. You can go on there for $30 or more and get free shipping anywhere in America. And then the second thing is come check us out at HEB. And so like we just need as much local support as we can possibly get. I will never say it's the best coffee in town, but I will say it's the freshest. And I'd love for you to come and see
coffee.
it.
Why not?
And so I'm not trying to hurt anybody else's business. But I want you to come see us and give it a shot and give us a try and give us an honest review online. That'd be wonderful. And then for Harvest House, just know that times are tough for everybody, and me, you, everybody included. So if you can afford an extra few dollars, just go to yourharvesthouse.org, click on give. And even if it's just a one time, but even if you could give $5 a month, that adds up to a lot for us over the year and it helps feed a family. That'd be wonderful.
That's what all the nonprofits say is they would like to have small donations regularly, on an auto pay or something like that, so they can budget appropriately.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll take the big donation too.
Oh yeah,
don't kid me.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen. If you want to pony up with a checkbook, we're here for it.
Yeah,
but I think that too oftentimes people think that I don't make enough to give when that extra $5 a month would literally change another family's life.
Right, it would.
Yeah.
Well, you have a real natural talent for podcasting. You ought to give it a shot. Who knows?
Maybe
Have you done this before?
Have you done this before? And I know where to do it. Okay.
That's right.
So, Taylor, thank you for your expertise.
Yes, sir.
And
I try.
And I know that he's a big coffee fan.
Yeah, he's the man.
All right. And we'll see you. I'll see you at the HEB. I'll be there today. You're going to be there today?
I won't be there
I'll be there today. But I'll drop by and say hey to the ladies. And I appreciate you showing up. We got to do this again around Christmas time or something
wonderful.
like that.
Thank you so much, Mr.
You
Allard.
bet. And we'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to be talking to Lisa Boltonhouse and a couple of her friends. We're going to talk about what the burdens and the pleasures of being a parent of an autistic child is.
Cool.
Bye-bye.